Welcome back to 2190 Live, everybody. Zayna Allen here, and I am here with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, the amazing. First of all, I'm so glad that I'm able to chat with you today. And I want to just say really quick, just to start us off, I feel like a lot of people think that you came out of nowhere, right? Like it was like you popped up out of nowhere. But you've been in the game for a minute, right? Like you've been in for over 10 years of practicing. And tell us all about, you've done a lot of things in your career. And I don't think people understand that fully.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I absolutely did not come out of nowhere. I've been in the field of mental health for 17 plus years. I started off as a marriage, family, and child therapist, working under a license, then got my doctorate and transferred over to a life coach and psychology expert because it just gave me just more reach. It allowed me to be more flexible in my teaching and my modalities and my theories, and it became more effective for my clients as well. And I, commingling me being a psychology expert and being a therapist about 10 plus 15 years ago, and then also being the president of the biggest civil rights organization in the world, NAACP, I already had a huge platform. I already, was in the space of fighting and advocating for human rights and people having a good quality of life and shifting and changing and providing tools that allow people to have, mental health. And so it wasn't, that it was from in a celebrity limelight standpoint, but it definitely was a global platform of people who were following, and not because I was a celebrity, but because my tools, my modalities, and my expertise were effective. Now I've just moved into more of a space of this celebrity space, which is not why I do my work. It just happened because of me being on different platforms of people who happen to, in addition to my big platform, have a big platform. And so the blessing of that isn't the celebrityness or the fame. It is the fact that I've now taken on a new audience that has expanded my platform and audience, not for me to have numbers and it be a bragging standpoint, but for me to be able to have more people that I'm able to bless and be a vessel for, and I'm able to provide tools that are helping shift and change their life and get them into a better place. And that was always the goal, even when I was in college and my master's and in my doctorate program.
But I love hearing about everything that you've done. I think that the work that you're doing is important. I watched a few of your interviews, and I know that you talk about having this hybrid approach as a therapist and a coach. And I think that's very interesting because I feel like a lot of therapists, or at least therapists that I know, have said things about life coaches. Like life coaches don't know what they're talking about, and da 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 da. But how do you respond to that?
Well, I started off as a therapist, right? That was my nucleus. That's my foundation with a CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy approach, coupled with psychodynamic. And that was my approach. And when I transitioned over to being a psychology expert and life coach, which I only did that because technically you only need a license as a therapist to bill insurance. Majority of my clients don't want me to bill insurance because in order to bill insurance, you have to diagnose people. Insurance doesn't pay just because you're having a daily issue or an impairment. They bill because you have a diagnosis, which is either a mood disorder, a psychotic disorder, or a personality disorder, which stays on your record for the rest of your life. When you pay cash, even to a licensed therapist or just say life coach, or like myself, I'm a hybrid. I'm a therapist, life coach, and I work with both those modalities coupled together. You don't have to diagnose. You're able to really treat the symptoms, or you're really to able coach the symptoms and the person. And now you have a person who's able to get the help that they need without having a label or a diagnosis on their record. And so for me, I learned that therapy is effective in the sense of tell me more. Let's figure out why you do what you do. Let's figure out your behavior, why you choose the way you choose, and how you got to where you are, right? What shapes your narrative? What shapes your perception of things? And your perception is your reality. So how did you even get to this space? And then coaching says, all right, now that we've filled those things and we have a better understanding of your behavior and who you are and why you choose and your makeup and all those things, where do you want to go and who do you want to be? Both are effective, but neither one of them are effective by themselves. Therapy heals you, but it doesn't get you to where you want to go. Coaching gets you to where you want to go, but then you can sabotage when you get to where you want to be because you haven't healed the sabotaging behaviors or dysfunctions that will disable you once you become this person and you arrive to this location that you want to arrive to. So what I did was I took both of them, therapy and coaching, and I coupled them, which makes it a hybrid approach, and found that it is the most effective tool and most effective theory that a therapist or a coach can use, so that we're making sure that we're dealing with the whole person and not one or two moving parts of who this person is.
I love that. I love that, and it shows that you know what you're doing. You've been around the block. You already know what's going on. And I think it's very interesting. You said that you didn't necessarily want to get to this place of celebrity, but you got here. And how do you think that you got to this point?
So I am a shepherd, and I have my own sheep, right? And the Bible talks about that, where your sheep will know your voice. And so I know for sure that as being a shepherd, and I think that all of us are a shepherd and a sheep, depending on the season, depending on where we are and what we're doing, the room we're in. Just like, meaning we're all leaders and followers. There is no such thing as just, these particular leaders. I think that leaders lead leaders who oftentimes become followers. And then, as me being a leader, I become the follower. When there's someone in the room who is more wise than me, who is further than me, I then become the student of that teacher. And so with myself, I just know for sure that God understood that I was in a position ready for the expansion of my sheep, for me to shepherd. And he knew that my my flock, my sheep, were a particular group of people that happened to be now my fan base. And he understood that where he had to place me for me to continue to expand that and do his work. And I think that because I know that because I understand that this is my purpose and that this is God's work that I'm a vessel for, I'm not moved, or my throttle per se is not moved or repositioned by those who either naysay or those who say. I say some days they love me, some days they hate me, but on every day I love myself. And I only can be that vertical because I understand what I'm planted in, I understand what I'm rooted in, and I understand what image I'm made in. And that image happens to be God for me, not to project God onto anyone else. And when you are doing something where you are in a partnership with a spirit, a being as big as God, then you understand the purpose comes with people who don't like you, because even the people who don't like you have to listen to you to dislike you. And while they're listening to you to criticize you, they're also gaining what it is that God needs for them to gain. And so if I have to be disliked for God's word or message, or for a quality of life to be projected onto somebody, or for tools and tips to be given to somebody for them to have a better world, a better life, a better mental health, then damn it, dislike me all you want. I'm okay with that. But also, if you want to love me and give me my flowers, I will more than happily accept those and say thank you. But what I want to say is that a person who understands their purpose is not wavered by either one. They're not going to be coerced to become arrogant because of the people that love them. They're also not going to be coerced to tip their head and tuck their tail because of the people that don't like them. Both of those people are people that I approach with the same type of demeanor. And that's how I'm able to be in certain interviews with people like Cam Newton or Nick Cannon, where you have fan base saying, how were you able to stick with those interviews and not be offended? You definitely, in their words, ate him up, right? Or you cooked, but you didn't do it in a way that attacked him back. Well, I never felt attacked in any of those interviews because I was in my purpose. I wasn't in my flesh. My flesh probably would have said some choice curse words, and my flesh may have wanted to check them in a way that was more humanistic. But when I'm in my spirit, which is my purpose, I have a bigger calling, and that calling is not to demise. It's not to emasculate or disempower. That calling is to see where the resistance is, the pain is, and for me to penetrate the pain and hear the loud calling of, I need help, please help me. And so for me, I'm able to hear that through what they're saying, and I'm able to penetrate right where it's needed for these people to be able to shift from a place of wilderness and hopefully into a place of promised land, because that's where the real freedom is.
So the thing is, I think that you mentioned that a lot of people, either they like you or dislike you, and it's not that's not anything to you either way. But I think a lot of people like you personally. I've seen a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people take your side and say, "Yeah, you read him down. You ate them for filth. You know, whatever." And and I want to say, even with your work on Truth Talks or tonight's conversations, or even the interviews that you've done with Cam and Nick Cannon, all of it has seemed to be like you are this, like, I want to say, dating messiah. Like, you have definitely shifted the culture when it comes to dating, because I think people took your words and took, like, they saw themselves in, so men have probably seen themselves in Cam and in Nick, and a lot of women probably saw themselves in the people that they're dating, and they decided to put their foot down. And but was this what you wanted from all of this? Was this your intent, to become this change maker?
Oh, now, yes to that. My intent to become a celebrity and famous? No. Am I mad that it happened? Absolutely not. Comes with the territory. I can handle it. I'm built for it. But my intent was to be a change maker. My intent was to interrupt dysfunctional cycles, intergenerational behaviors, and cycles and patterns that don't serve us, that don't serve our community, that don't serve, when I say our community, don't serve the Black community, but then don't serve us as a human race. 100%. I knew as a little girl, when my father started to have, multiple broken homes, but was a great father, just was a womanizer as a man. I remember telling him, like, I never want to be with a man who has all these kids by all these women like you. But I do hope that my husband can be a father like you, who protects and provides and talks and loves and invests and nurtures, because that part is wow. But I don't like the fact that you could. And I mean, I was probably like I was young when I was having this conversation with him. And of course, I didn't stop at the babies kept coming. I love that I have a big family, but I don't like that we're blended. I would have loved to have us all be communed under the same roof, because that would have provided all of us more of an equitable relationship with both of our parents. Okay. And so I definitely already understood that my message was going to be a lot of times an unpopular opinion. I've been like that since a young girl. I don't need to fit in. My opinion is what it is, and my opinion is not meant to be celebrated per se, even though I take that, Zane, that people are celebrating me. And you're right. I see all of that and I love it. But my opinion is meant to land in shift and change. That is what it's meant to do. And that is what it's been doing. So as I see it shifting our culture, and not just our culture, but folks who are outside of our culture who don't even look like us, right? It's shifting them as well. I have clients of all races, of all genders, of all cultures, gay culture, the heterosexual culture. I have, even Muslim culture from different religions come into session, and they are equally using my tools to heal and equally provide a shift and change in their household, in their culture, even when they're a different race. That is what leadership looks like. That comes with a lot of weight, and I know how to distribute it. So it's not an issue for me. I'm teaching people how to do what I do. And with that, I want to add that I have my hybrid life coaching certification program that's online, that allows people who look at me and say, wait a minute, I've always wanted to do that, right? I do it naturally. I just don't have a platform. I love changing lives, or I'm already a therapist and I'm changing lives, but I want to take it to the next level, or I'm already a coach and I want to do it differently and take it to the next level. When I say next level, I'm not talking about just monetary value, next level in how you change lives. I have a whole certification program online that allows people to graduate from my Dr. Bryant Institute, get their Dr. Bryant Institute certification, open up their practice, and not only make a lot of really good money, but change a lot of amazing people's lives, which is the real paycheck, is when you're changing someone's life and have an impact like that.
Absolutely. I love that. I love to hear that. I think that it's very interesting. A lot of the work that you do and a lot of the things that you've said in your interviews and things of that nature, you talk about low functioning and high functioning men and women, right? And I think that is very timely. It's the new year. People are trying to put together the New Year's resolutions. So before we head out, I do want to ask you, what can a Black woman do to become a high functioning woman as their New Year's resolution?
The number one thing that a Black woman can do to become a high functioning woman is self-love. Boundaries are the epitome of self-love. Boundaries are God's hedges. God has hedges around all of us. Hedges are something that it doesn't just only protect us, but it's a space that's created by God that's called a safe space that allows us to be exactly who we are in that space. There is there is a space where we are celebrated, a space where we are activated in ways that activate the best parts of us. And so boundaries do that. Boundaries say, hey, look, Zane, this is what I need within our friendship for me to show up for my as my best self, not just for me, but for you as a friend. These are the things. And these boundaries, when they are set, they put hedges around me in your friendship so that I can be in there and I can be safe. I can be in there and I can be trusted. I can be in there and I can trust you. And so self-love says I love myself enough to not let everything in. I love myself enough to set boundaries for myself also, so that I know that I don't enter into any space as well. And then the other thing is, high functioning is just the ability to regulate your emotions, the emotional intelligence of saying, I know how to identify my emotions, someone else's emotions, articulate that, let someone have a difference in opinion, a difference in emotion, and not be shifted or bothered by that, but respect that while I still stand on my square in what I believe. If we can do that, then we have relationships, then we have community, then we have marriage. We don't have broken homes. We don't have broken families, because if two people can learn how to function at a level that's high functioning, but they're human enough to be a hybrid and also have some low functionality in them, now you have what's called equally yoked. Now you have what's called well balanced. Because if you have a relationship where you have someone who is only high functioning, which doesn't exist, we're not robots, then you have someone that's extremely transactional. And transaction belongs in the boardroom. It doesn't belong in a relationship. In a relationship, you have to be high functioning enough to be able to agree to disagree, to be able to navigate through your emotions, their emotions, respect both emotions, even if they're different. And you have to be able to say, okay, well, I can facilitate you when you get into your low functioning space. Your low functioning space is just your trauma response. It's how you show up when you're triggered. It's how you show up when the not so good parts of you are activated. This is why we need hybrids in relationships, because when you go into your low functioning, Zane, I have to be able to facilitate you there without me going low functioning as well. And now we're throwing blow for blow, and now we're at war and we have an internal struggle. That's not the idea.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Everybody, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, make sure you guys check her out. And we will come back to you guys soon.
You got it. Thank y'all. You're so amazing. I appreciate you ladies for having me. And thanks for having the platform, because it's platforms like y'all's who allows people like me to come on, provide my expertise, give tips and tools that shift and change. Again, not just the trajectory of our community, but that in a result of itself changes the world. And so this is where it starts. And, like I've said on my social media, my call of action is we got to start this thing called Black privilege. And it's not because we want to privilege our people at the expense of others. It's because we need to equity our people so that we can start to build our community in a way that also becomes a contribution and an asset to every other community that's connected to us. When we win as a community, everybody wins as a human race. And that's why it's important for us to do our part so that as a community, we're able to contribute to the other communities as well. So thank y'all for having me, ladies. I really love and appreciate you.